Good morning, everyone. My name is Chelsea Nair, and I'm one of Evelyn's nieces and the daughter of Carol and Bobby Nair. On behalf of the Tita Evelyn family, I want to thank everyone for being here today and for everyone's thoughts, prayers, and kindness. I was reminded that this week is actually Teacher Appreciation Week, and thought it was fitting that we are celebrating the life of our own teacher. As some of you know, Tita Evelyn used to be a teacher in the Philippines and would continue teaching when she came to the States. Hence came her nickname, Teacher. And even those of us that weren't in her class called her Teacher. Teacher was like a second mom to me, as I'm sure she was to many others. Since her and her husband, Uncle Pete, did not have any kids of their own, they treated all their nieces and nephews as such. We all spent a lot of time with Teacher and Uncle Pete and have all taken pictures on top of the elephant at their house when we were younger. They would take us to Super A, 99-cent store, and Chuck E. Cheese to buy us different toys and show us a good time. Every time we saw them, they always had something to give us, whether it be another toy, pool bubble gum, or some lunch money. Despite her sickness, Teacher never hesitated to give whatever she could to make others happy. Growing up, I would always beg my parents to spend the night at Uncle Pete and Teacher's home. I slept right in between her and Uncle Pete. During the day, they would feed me my favorite food, Vienna sausage and rice. It was actually at Teacher and Uncle Pete's house that I first saw someone cooking rice. I had never seen uncooked rice before then. I was probably only 3 years old. I was so interested in how the beads of rice looked and how it reminded me of sand, but even cooler. And I wanted to play with it. But after Teacher scooped the rice she needed, she closed the container. So I told myself that night I would wake up while Teacher and Uncle Pete were asleep, and I would play with the rice without interruption. And I did it. I woke up, I heard Uncle Pete snoring next to me, and I said, I'm in the clear. So I walked my little feet to the kitchen, found the container of rice, dipped my whole hand in, swishing it all around, cupping it into my hands and letting go. I didn't know if I was making a lot of noise or if I was making any noise at all. But when I turned around, Teacher was already behind me. She didn't say anything. She just closed the rice container, grabbed my hand, and brought me back to bed. I later found out she told my mom all about it. I missed Teacher when we moved away from Glendale and to Roland Heights. I remember when she moved, she came over to our house and joked if she could sleep in my bed with me, since I had slept in her and Uncle Pete's bed so many times. I said yes and showed Teacher my room. I had a small twin bed. We both laid down and squeezed onto the twin bed. I fell asleep right away. She didn't and went to go hang out with my mom. In addition to being my mom's sister, she was also my mom's best friend. They were incredibly close. I asked my mom to write a few things about Teacher that I could share with you all today. My mom saw Teacher as her own second mom as well. Growing up, Teacher would do her hair every day and would take care of her even into adulthood. Every Christmas, they would wear matching shirts. As I look back now, even when it wasn't on Christmas, they would have matching shirts bought from our trips to Macy's. In fact, it didn't just stop at shirts. Even their furniture at home matched. My mom and Teacher would talk every day, probably around 3 to 4 times a day. My mom's phone would ring. My sister and I would look at each other and say, Sis Eve. My mom would ask her how she's doing, if she ate already, and sometimes They talk about what's going on the area on PSC. When my sister gave birth to her daughter, Kayliana, teacher would FaceTime my mom just to watch the baby. Sometimes she'd be on the phone for 30 minutes just watching Kayliana play with her toys. Kayliana even recognized teacher through the phone. She would walk to the phone, look at teacher, and start babbling. Teacher was already very weak at this time, but she made it a point to show how much she loved Kayliana. She bought her toys, this huge playhouse that now sits in my parents' living room. And when Kayliana came to visit, she would show her the little robot dog on her dresser that we all used to play with to make Kayliana smile. A few days before she passed, she gave my sister and my mom a purse that she had bought Kayliana. She said she wouldn't be able to make it to her birthday. I know Kayliana really loved her, and I'm so happy that Kayliana was able to experience the love and generosity from teacher that we all grew up with, even if it was just for a little bit. I will miss teacher every day, her caring and generous spirit, and her humor. I wish we would have had more time to share with each other. I'll miss her at Kayliana's second birthday, me and Gerard's wedding, and Christmas. Now I'll have to be the one to match shirts with my mom. These last few years, when we would visit, she would tell me and my sister to not forget about Uncle Pete when she passed. We would always tell her not to talk like that, and of course, we wouldn't ever forget about Uncle Pete. I find comfort that she's no longer in pain, and that she is reunited with Nana and Tatay. We will honor her memory by taking care of Uncle Pete, telling Kayliana about her other grandma and babysitter that loved her so much, and by striving to be caring towards others despite our own adversities. Teacher, we love you and miss you so much. Thank you.